Police department.
Yeah, what's up?
Get Mikail.
For what? We just got Mikail out of jail.
Get Mikail outside.
Hey, you better get that goddamn gun off me.
Get Mikail outside.
For what?
So we can arrest him.
For what?
Yeah. For a warrant.
Wait, show me the warrant.
Go get him or we're coming after him.
Sir, if you
do you want me to pull you out of the way?
Move, man.
Do you want me to pull out of the way?
Get Mikail.
Hey, this is
Did you hear what I said? Either he comes out or I'm coming in to get him.
What, you gonna kick my door in?
Absolutely.
Show me the warrant. All you got to do, man, is show me the warrant.
All right, you got 5 seconds, and I'm going to put you in handcuffs.
For what?
And then I'm going to kick your door in and go in there and get him.
I ain't hopping no food. I just left the bell. Hold up. She gonna let him in.
You're running out of choices.
Come on, open it. What the fuck you mean?
Mikail, let's go, buddy.
Hold up. My wife ain't got no goddamn. Hey!
First time he came to the front door telling about what was kind of going on. She's going to be kidnapped, the mom. Now that's what he told me. I don't know.
Nobody has even reported her missing yet.
Oh, okay.
It's suspicious. She's not on her social media sites. We can't find her phone. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I didn't mean to say that then. Just tell me what he said, though.
Yeah, he said she was kidnapped. He didn't say anything else?
No. He said that what the family said. I don't know. I don't.
Search for a missing Pensacola mother of 4 has come to an end. Her body has been found. An arrest has been made. Today, Pensacola police charged her ex-boyfriend, Mikail Fountain, with homicide. Fountain arrested earlier this week on charges of tampering with evidence. He bonded out of jail yesterday.
Tanner Stewart is in the studio to explain the clues that led to Fountain's arrest.
Sue, Pensacola Police Chief Eric Randall says crucial evidence led to that discovery of Kayla Atwood's body, but what's unclear is how police found this specific location and how Kayla Atwood died.
34-year-old Mikail Fountain has been processed in the Escambia County Jail twice this week. On Tuesday night, Fountain faced charges of tampering with evidence after police determined he deleted surveillance footage and text messages related to Kayla Atwood's disappearance. Thursday, he bonded out. Overnight, Fountain was arrested again, this time for homicide, after the mother of 4's remains were found in a shallow grave along Crow Road in Escambia County, just miles from where she was last seen at her home, getting into a vehicle that matched the description of Fountain's white pickup truck, according to this arrest report. Pensacola Police Chief Eric Randall says crucial evidence was received that was instrumental in the recovery of Atwood's remains. PPD partnered with the Florida Department of Law Enforcement and Escambia County Sheriff's Office, using specialized canines to search.
Legacy Canine, they're nationally certified cadaver dogs, so they help us when we have particular areas that we want to search. Instead of a wide area search, they were able to hone us into a very specific area, which helped bring this to a conclusion a lot faster.
Kayla Atwood's sister-in-law expressing gratitude to law enforcement for bringing closure to Atwood's disappearance.
I wanted to give a thanks to the community on behalf of the Atwood family. We really appreciate the support, all of the tips that were sent in. We want to also give thanks to the Pensacola Police Department for working on this case and helping us bring Kayla home.
Chief Randall says Mikail Fountain hasn't been cooperative with investigators in this case. He's being held in the Escambia County Jail with no bond.
3 weeks. That's all it took. 3 weeks between the day Kayla Atwood swiped right on a stranger and the day she ended up in a shallow grave off Crow Road. B-roll, quiet, wooded tree-lined morning fog, slow push-in. Not 3 years, not 3 months, 3 weeks. If you've ever matched with someone on a dating app, talked to them for a few days, decided it wasn't for you, and moved on without a second thought, I need you to sit with that number for a second. Because for Kayla, moving on is exactly what got her killed. Somewhere in these woods, investigators would eventually find her body, but I'm not going to open with that. Not really. Because this story, the one I'm about to tell you, doesn't actually start with a grave. It starts with a swipe. Before she was a case file, before she was a headline, before any of this happened to her, Kayla Atwood was just a mom of 4 trying to get her life back on track, and by every account from the people who loved her most, she was doing it. So before we get into what he did, I want you to meet who she was, because that's the part true crime coverage usually skips, and it's the part that actually matters. If this is your first time on Real Crime Stories channel, welcome. I cover cases like this every week, always with the goal of putting the victim back at the center of their own story, not the man who took it from them. So if that's the kind of true crime you're here for, go ahead and hit subscribe now, because you're going to want to see how this one ends. All right, let's start at the beginning with Kayla. If you scrolled through Kayla Atwood's social media before any of this happened, you wouldn't find a victim. You'd find a mom having a good time. She posted TikToks constantly, lip syncs, little dance clips, videos of her singing along in the car with the windows down. Nothing polished, nothing performative. Just a woman who liked to laugh and wanted her friends and family to laugh with her. People who knew her use one word over and over when they talk about her now: gem. Not sweet, not kind. Gem, the kind of person who made rooms lighter just by being in them. But Kayla's story wasn't a straight line. Like a lot of people, she'd been through real hardship, the kind that leaves marks. Abandonment early on, struggles that followed her into adulthood, the kind of past that could have defined her if she'd let it. She didn't let it. By the time this story picks up, Kayla was in the middle of rebuilding. She'd gotten sober. She was showing up every single day for her 4 kids, getting them to school, making dinner, doing the unglamorous, exhausting daily work of turning a life around. I want to be really clear about why I'm spending this much time on who she was before we ever get to him. Because it's easy, in true crime, to let the perpetrator take up all the oxygen in the room, to make the story about his psychology, his patterns, his motive. This isn't going to be that kind of video. This is a story about a woman who did everything right, who got sober, who showed up for her kids, who was, by every measure that matters, winning. And it's a story about how none of that mattered, because 3 weeks after she met a man named Mikail Fountain, the one thing she did that he couldn't accept was leave. Text on screen, keep that in mind. Everything from here happens because she chose herself. Quick gut check before we go further. If you've got someone in your life like Kayla, someone who's fighting to rebuild and showing up for their kids every day, drop a in the comments for them right now. I read every one. Okay, December 11th. This is where Mikail Fountain enters the picture. And from the outside, the beginning probably looked like a whirlwind romance. The kind your friends might have teased you about. You're already talking every day. You just met him. But when you slow the timeline down, when you actually count the days, what happened next moves at a speed that should stop you in your tracks. Within days, Mikail wasn't just a guy Kayla was texting. He was around. He was spending money. He was folding himself into her routine, her time, her space, and eventually, her kids. Day 3, day 6, day 9. This wasn't a slow burn. This was a man moving at a pace designed to make himself indispensable fast, before Kayla had time to really evaluate what was happening. I want you to notice something here because it's going to matter a lot later. Entanglement isn't the same thing as intimacy. Moving fast isn't the same thing as caring deeply. Sometimes moving fast is a strategy, a way of creating dependency before someone has the chance to ask, wait, do I actually want this? By the time 3 weeks had passed, Mikail Fountain had inserted himself into nearly every corner of Kayla's daily life. And then on December 30th, Kayla asked herself that question. And she answered it. We don't know every word that was said in that conversation. What we know is the outcome. Kayla Atwood decided that whatever this was, however fast it moved, however much space he'd taken up in her life, it wasn't what she wanted, and she told him so. For most people, that's Tuesday. People break up. People decide 3 weeks wasn't enough to build something real, and they walk away, and life continues. For Mikail Fountain, it was a grievance. Because here's what happened next, and I want you to pay close attention to the timing, because this is the first hard proof of who he really was underneath those 3 fast, whirlwind weeks. Within days of Kayla ending things, Mikail called in a false welfare check on her. Think about what that actually means. He didn't call because he was worried. He called because he wanted eyes on her. He wanted police at her door, a way to insert himself back into her life, to make her aware that he still had a hand in it, even after she'd said it was over. This is the moment I need you to lock in, because everything after this, every single thing flows directly from it. Kayla didn't provoke this. She didn't do anything except make a choice about her own life. And that choice was treated, by the man she just left, like an offense that needed to be answered. If you're watching this and you've ever had someone react to a breakup by checking in on you through side channels, showing up somewhere you didn't expect, having a friend casually ask where you were, calling to make sure you're okay a little too soon after, I want you to comment the word "noted" below. Not because your situation is this, but because that instinct needing to know they still have access to you is worth nomming out loud every time you see it. Kayla, for her part, did exactly what she should have. She kept moving forward. She had no idea she was already being watched. January 2nd, January 3rd, just 3 days into the new year, and on the surface, Kayla's life looked exactly like what it was, a mother, rebuilding, doing ordinary things. One of those ordinary things, getting rides from a man named Tony who drove a Penske truck. Nothing romantic, nothing complicated, just a practical arrangement, a ride to get her where she needed to go, help with the small logistics of daily life while she got back on her feet. I want to flag that truck for you right now, because later, much later, it's going to matter in a way you won't expect. Hold on to I. But while Kayla was living her ordinary life, school runs, small talk with a guy giving her a ride, the unremarkable rhythm of a Tuesday, Mikail Fountain was not moving on. He found her, he found Tony, and he confronted him, a drive-by confrontation right there out in the open, not a private text, not a quiet question, a physical, visible act of "I see you, I know where you are, I know who you're with." Music, tense, low pulse building underneath. This is surveillance. Let's call it exactly what it is. This isn't heartbreak. Heartbreak doesn't track your ex-girlfriend's rides. Heartbreak doesn't show up in person to confront a stranger over a Penske truck. This is a man monitoring a woman who told him clearly that she was done. And here's the part that should sit heavy with you. Kayla likely had no idea how closely she was being watched. To her, this might have just felt like an awkward, uncomfortable run-in, not a 5-alarm warning. That's the terrifying thing about this kind of fixation. It rarely announces itself as danger. It shows up looking like jealousy, like an ex who's still not over it. Something you brush off because nomming it for what it actually is feels dramatic until it isn't. Drop a triangular flag in the comments if you've ever had a "he's just not over it yet" moment that, looking back, was actually something much more serious. I want you to see how many of you relate to this, because Kayla's story is about to show you exactly where that road ends. January 3rd, 2:20 p.m. That's the last time anyone would see Kayla Atwood alive. 2:20 p.m., January 3rd. That's the timestamp investigators would later anchor everything to. The last confirmed moment Kayla Atwood was seen alive. Not long after, someone tried calling her phone. And a man answered. Not Kayla, him. If you've ever called someone and a stranger picked up their line, you know that specific, cold feeling, that instant something is wrong signal your body sends before your brain even catches up. For the people who loved Kayla, that phone call was the first crack in the floor. Here's where the case stops being about feelings and starts being about data. Because what investigators would eventually reconstruct, piece by piece, tower by tower, was a cell phone timeline as precise as a clock. Screen, animated map, 2 phone icons, hers and his, moving in tandem. Kayla's phone, Mikail's phone, traveling together, Same route, same pings, same cell towers moving in lockstep toward one location, his house. Then at his address, her phone goes dark. No more pings, no more location data, no more Kayla. But his phone keeps moving. Investigators traced his device leaving that address and heading toward a remote, wooded lot. And when they laid the data out, they found something that doesn't happen by accident. His phone sat completely still, idling at that exact location for 15 minutes. 15 minutes doesn't sound like much, but ask yourself, what do you do for 15 straight minutes standing still in the woods at night alone? That same wooded lot is where Kayla Atwood's body would later be found. I want to slow down here because it's important you understand why this phone data mattered so much to the case. Mikail Fountain never had to confess. He didn't need to. His own phone told the story for him, a silent digital witness that placed him with Kayla when she went dark and placed him alone at the exact place she was later recovered. This is what modern investigations increasingly hinge on. Not a smoking gun, but a trail of pings nobody thinks to hide, because most people don't even realize their phone is keeping a diary of everywhere they go. Kayla's family didn't get a phone call telling them she was safe. They got silence. And then, eventually, they got confirmation of the thing every family in this position fears most. Before we go into what Mikail did next, because what comes next might make you angrier than anything you've heard so far, hit that subscribe button if you're not already following and drop a comment. Here's the thing about people who commit this kind of crime. Very few of them stop at the act itself. What follows is almost always an attempt to control the story, and Mikail Fountain's attempt started almost immediately. A neighbor's security system had footage that could have shown investigators exactly what happened in that critical window. Instead, detectives found signs of manipulation. Angles changed. Footage that should have existed didn't. Mikail didn't stay quiet. He didn't disappear. Instead, he pushed a narrative that Kayla had been kidnapped, that something had happened to her, some outside threat, some stranger danger scenario that conveniently placed him nowhere near responsibility. It's worth pausing on that. A man who, according to phone data, was the last person with her, who idled alone at the exact location her body would be found, was, within days, telling people someone had taken her, not asking where she was, telling them what happened to her, confidently, specifically. That's not panic, that's staging. Third, the texts. Investigators found deleted messages, communications Mikail apparently didn't want anyone to see. You don't delete texts because you're innocent. You delete texts because you know exactly what they'd prove. And then came the interrogation. This is where the cracks really started to show. Because when detectives really pushed, Mikail Fountain's response wasn't grief. It wasn't confusion. It was bravado. At one point, he reportedly told investigators something like, "I've got 33 women." Sit with that for a second. A woman is dead. Investigators are asking him direct questions about the last hours of her life. And his instinct is to boast about how many women he's involved with.
Are you familiar with that name? Okay. So during my investigation, your name came up, so I want to talk to you and see if you've had any contact with Kayla or know anything about her or anything like that. But basically, the reason that we ended up here is because you drive like a yellow Penske truck, right?
Yeah.
So that yellow Penske truck is seen on video camera, and Kayla is seen getting into that. So is there anybody that you went with this week while you were dropping off tires and stuff like that?
Yeah, I had a female ride with me, but she's a dog.
She's a what?
She's a dog.
An adult?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. And so what is her name?
Damn. All I know is about Pretty.
Pretty?
Yeah.
Okay.
not to explain his alibi, not to express concern, to perform dominance in a room where he had none. That single sentence tells you almost everything you need to know about how he saw Kayla and every woman like her, not as a person, as a number in a tally. Detectives kept pulling on the thread, and the story kept unraveling, contradictions piling on contradictions, timelines that didn't match, explanations that shifted every time he was pushed on a detail. Eventually, they had enough. An arrest warrant went out. And in a detail that almost feels too on the nose to be true, Mikail Fountain initially bonded out on a lesser charge, went home. It didn't last. When police came for him again, it turned into a standoff at his family's home, officers surrounding the house, tension climbing by the minute. And where did they eventually find him? The same man who told detectives he had 33 women. The same man who confronted a stranger over a Penske truck. The same man whose idling phone sat still in the woods for 15 minutes. When it finally came down to facing consequences, he folded himself into a closet and hoped it would be enough. Mikail didn't stay quiet. He didn't disappear. Instead, he pushed a narrative that Kayla had been kidnapped, that something had happened to her, some outside threat, some stranger danger scenario that conveniently placed him nowhere near responsibility. It's worth pausing on that. A man who, according to phone data, was the last person with her, who idled alone at the exact location her body would be found, was, within days, telling people someone had taken her, not asking where she was, telling them what happened to her, confidently, specifically. Third, the texts. Investigators found deleted messages, communications Mikail apparently didn't want anyone to see. You don't delete texts because you're innocent. You delete texts because you know exactly what they'd prove. Not as a person, as a number in a tally. Detectives kept pulling on the thread, and the story kept unraveling, contradictions piling on contradictions, timelines that didn't match, explanations that shifted every time he was pushed on a detail. Eventually, they had enough. An arrest warrant went out, and in a detail that almost feels too on the nose to be true, Mikail Fountain initially bonded out on a lesser charge, went home. It didn't last. When police came for him again, it turned into a standoff at his family's home, officers surrounding the house, tension climbing by the minute. And where did they eventually find him? The same man who told detectives he had 33 women. The same man who confronted a stranger over a Penske truck. The same man whose idling phone sat still in the woods for 15 minutes. When it finally came down to facing consequences, he folded himself into a closet and hoped it would be enough. The phone data placing his device with hers, then alone at the burial site. The 15 minutes of stillness in the woods. The manipulated camera footage. The deleted texts. The false kidnapping story he told before anyone had reason to suspect foul play. The welfare check he filed days after she left him. The confrontation with Tony over nothing more than a ride in a truck. Individually, a defense attorney can explain away almost any single piece of evidence. But when you lay all of them side by side, when you watch them form one continuous, unbroken timeline of control, surveillance, and cover-up, there's no longer a reasonable alternative explanation. There's just the truth. The jury saw it too. On January 29, 2026, Mikail Fountain was found guilty. Less than 2 weeks later, on February 10, 2026, he was sentenced to life without the possibility of parole. No amount of prison time gives Kayla's kids their mother back. No sentence undoes the 3 weeks that took everything from a woman who had finally started winning her life back. But when Kayla's family stood up to give their victim impact statement, they didn't ask for sympathy. They asked for something much simpler, much heavier. That's what they said, not out of cruelty, out of exhaustion, out of the plain, brutal math of what was taken from them and what they believed was owed in return. If you're a parent watching this, or a sibling, or a child of someone like Kayla, I want you to just sit with that family statement for a second before we move into what this story actually means. A life for a life. That's what it costs when someone decides your no is unacceptable. Let's go back to where we started. 3 weeks, a swipe, a relationship that moved too fast to really be evaluated, until the moment Kayla evaluated it anyway and chose herself. She didn't do anything wrong. Let me say that again clearly, because it's the entire point of this story. Kayla Atwood did not do anything except choose to leave. And I want to leave you with something practical, not just something sad. Because if there's one thing this case should teach every single person watching, it's this. Pay attention to how someone reacts when you say no. A false welfare check filed within days of a breakup, that's not devotion. That's control dressed up as concern. Showing up to confront someone over a ride in a truck, that's not jealousy. That's surveillance. Needing to know where you are, who you're with, and what you're doing after you've already said it's over, that is never, ever love. If you see those signs in your own life, or in the life of someone you love, please don't wait for them to escalate before you take them seriously. Trust the pattern, not the promises. If you or someone you know is dealing with a partner who won't accept no, the National Domestic Violence Hotline is available 24/7, completely confidential, 1-800-790-97233, or you can text START to 88,788. Kayla Atwood was a mother, a daughter, a gem by every account of the people who loved her. She spent her last months fighting to build a better life for her 4 kids, and she won that fight every single day until the one day someone decided her freedom to leave was something he was owed an answer for. She wasn't, and she never should have had to be. If this video meant something to you, hit subscribe and drop a comment for Kayla's family below. I read every single one, and I make sure the ones that matter get seen. I'll see you in the next one.